Hi, my name's Simon Hayward. I'm the author of the Daventry Property blog, and today I'm going to talk about the last 20 years of the Daventry Property Market and what conclusions we can make for youngsters who are just starting out in our town. I'll start with a couple of facts. Firstly, just over 1,200 Daventry homes were bought by private landlords in the last 20 years. Second fact is more obvious, and people are always going to need a roof over their heads, and having somewhere to live is not going to go out of fashion. In the 70s, 80s and 90s, the expectation was to save like mad for a couple of years for a deposit while maybe living at home or renting a cheap 2 up, 2 down, and then buy your first house. However, the situation now is that fewer Daventry youngsters have been buying, rather choosing, or probably more accurately having to rent, mainly from private landlords, and that's because councils and housing associations have been selling off council houses on the right to buy schemes and other schemes. The numbers are surprising. So if you roll back the clock now 20 years, and Daventry was a totally different place. There are a total of 7,000 households in Daventry at the time. 4,400 of those were owner occupied, so about 63%. Today, with all the building in Daventry, the total number of households has increased by a sizable 42% to just under 10,000. Interestingly, the proportion of owner occupiers is now 6,000, that's around about 63%, so the same. But it's in the rented sector becomes really interesting. 20 years ago, there were only 195 properties privately rented, and now that's over 1,400. The challenges facing 20-somethings in Daventry haven't been helped by the local authorities selling off housing, with the number of authority houses dropping from 1,900 down to 600 over the same 20-year period. What's really interesting to me is that the reduction of the number of authority houses, 1,330, is quite similar to the increase in privately let houses, 1,230. Demand for decent rented property in Daventry remains very high, as the government house building programme is years away, and as decades of underinvestment catches up before it starts to affect demand in any measure. Even with the planned buy-to-let tax rule changes, which will see the maximum tax relief available to landlords drop from 45% to 20%, private landlords still have an important role to play in housing people in Daventry. And those who educate themselves, those landlords who treat it as a business, will not only survive, they'll do very, very well. So what about the stamp duty changes, which came in April? Well, my thoughts are, with such low supply, i.e. number of properties for sale, and high demand, it's hard to imagine that Daventry property values will see much impact. But I predict ever so slightly the proportion of owner-occupiers should increase compared to buy-to-let landlords in the coming decade, as the housing market should return to some kind of greater balance. But I also believe in Daventry the effect will be higher rents, and we've already seen that.